Good morning, friends. Today I want to talk about Docker with Jenkins. A lot of companies are kind of moving on to more Dockerization. You would probably hear this word too often, or what Docker means. So, just wanted to kind of quickly demonstrate of how Docker is used with Jenkins as a pipeline, and we can kind of just see how it integrates with this product called blueOcean, which is used with Jenkins. So I want to just quickly do a quick rundown of what Docker is all about. So Docker is an open source software designed to facilitate and simplify application development. And then it goes with a bunch of other terminologies with it. So you can think of Dockers as like your app store in your mobile phone, or like an iPhone or a Google Apps on your Android, where you download an application and then run it. So it's something similar in the sense that Docker gives you that platform to kind of run code that is already been tested, deployed, and it is shipped. So you just have to download it into your machine, and then you can just run them. And so you will hear two common terminologies called containers and images. So we can talk a little bit on containers and images shortly. So what is a Docker image? So Docker image is a set of files which has source codes, libraries, and all its dependencies. So this is basically an image of all these different libraries that is available, and then you can use them. So these are all static files, so you cannot just run them as is. So you need a container to run these images. So there is a container layer which is the read and write, and then you have the image layer under that. So for you to run the software, you need the container. So that's why you will hear this terminology called container, and then you'll also hear images. So I would like to now kind of start showing you what this really means, and then let's get started. So let me start by kind of showing you also what where you can kind of download Docker. That's the first thing that you got to do. So you can go into this website, dockers.com, get Docker, and then you have all the different platforms from which you can download if you're using a Mac, Windows, or a Linux. It's pretty straightforward. Once you go in there, you're just downloading in a Mac. You're just downloading a DMG, and then you're kind of pulling it into an application folder. And once you have downloaded, you will see an icon like this on your screen on the top left corner. I have something similar, but it's out of range of this recording, but you'll see this little icon on top of your desktop, and that means that Docker is being installed. So as you're downloading Docker, it'll also prompt you to sometimes download Docker Hub. And it's important that you just create a Docker Hub account. You just need an email ID to create a Docker Hub. So Docker Hub is something similar to like your GitHub, where all the images for different softwares is being stored. So if I just type in Jenkins here, you will see there's like different images of Jenkins available for you to download. And you should kind of go with something like an official version, which will be supported by Jenkins itself. And then there will be like different versions of it, which could be uploaded by somebody that who's working on Jenkins. It could be like a version which has something very specific in terms of the software that you need. And so that's something that you can take a look. You can explore all the different software that you want to use will be hosted on Docker Hub. So in our case, what we need is Docker CI blueOcean. This is what we will be using for our demo purpose here, and you can see that it's so active that there are almost 10 million plus users who have downloaded it, and you can see it gets constantly pushed. Somebody updated this a day ago. So yeah, this is what we would be using. So we would do this from the command line. So let me go into the terminal and just do clear here. So if Docker is installed, you can do docker help, and you should be able to see all the commands that you can use. These are the Docker commands that we will be using. So in our case, so this basically shows that you can now run docker run hello world. So this just shows that if your installation is correct. So if I do this docker run hello world, so it didn't find the image. Now it is pulling the hello world image from Docker Hub, and it's installed on my machine. So this is just a test to say that your Docker is being installed correctly on your machine. So let's see if the container and image is created for this. If I do docker ps minus a, this basically shows the container. It has a container ID and the image. To look at the actual image, you say docker images. So there's the image for hello world. So these are the two commands that we'll be using quite often. Docker ps minus a to see the actual image, and to see the actual container, and then docker images to see the actual image. So I'm going to use this link to kind of go through step by step of how to install Docker and Jenkins and everything else, to go through this course. So let me kind of go through first installing Jenkins, um, and I'm going to kind of type in these commands on my terminal to kind of create everything. So the first thing I'm going to do is to create the network for create Jenkins. So if you want more information, please click on these links, and then you can understand what really the network means. That's beyond the scope of this demo. It's pretty deep that if you get more information about it. So I'm just going to run this command. So it's done that. I'm going to run the next one, um, which is to create the volume. So this is run to basically once the container starts running and Jenkins is up, as soon as you stop the container, it's going to destroy whatever configuration you did on Jenkins. So you don't want that to happen. You want to store that in some kind of a volume, so it has needed that you've configured. So you want that to be saved. So you're putting this into a separate volume, and then every time you destroy and bring back the container, the Jenkins is still available for you. So that's what we're doing here. So that's done. And then we are actually going to use this Docker din. This is basically to kind of run some of the Docker commands within Jenkins. So that's the reason why we are going to also run this. So I'm just copy pasting this, and we can take a look at if all this is being installed or not. So let me do that. So it's just going to install that in a few minutes. All right, so that's done. And then the last one that I'm going to do is the main one, that is to pull the Jenkins CI slash blueOcean. So it's got a better format at the bottom. It's the same thing, and then just so it's pulling this from the Docker Hub into my machine. That in a minute. So once it completes this, It'll take a few minutes to download that. I'm just going to stop the